MDMA, oh my god, BomberKyle did MDMA. He must be such a crackhead. Does he even have a single ounce of self-respect in his body? Putting all those drugs in him? No. No, of course not. What is MDMA? If I'm going to talk about this drug, I'm going to have to give a little bit of background information on it first, because frankly, I have quite the story ahead of me, and I want to lay some things on the ground first. MDMA was originally developed by a chemist named Anton Kolisch. I think I'm probably butchering that name, but God bless him. Its original purpose was to be used in therapy to help people open up about their problems, get to the root of some of their trauma. It was meant to be a medical drug, but it's kind of turned into a party drug because of its effects on people. The reason MDMA has its effects is because it opens up the serotonin in your brain. All the serotonin, it's a hormone in your body that is released when you do things that make you happy, like have sex or complete a goal or a task. All of that releases serotonin. And what MDMA or Molly or ecstasy, all those drugs are the same, by the way, just the same names for the same things, or different names for the same things. It basically just washes your entire body in that serotonin. That's what generates the high. It increases euphoria and your sense of inner peace. It makes everything seem perfect. There's like literally not a stress in the world ever. All your social boundaries just come down, and it's a crazy experience. First of all, I had never even heard of this drug for a while. Like, I had nothing about it. I didn't know anything about it until one day randomly in around September 2020, when my friends messaged me being like, yo, I just tried Molly and it was fucking crazy. You and I like have to do this together one time. And the thing about this is like one of my best friends. The thing about this drug is that you're going to want to take it with people who mean a lot to you, because when you're with someone who's on the same level as you on this drug, it's one of the most bonding experiences you can ever have. It didn't take me too much to get on board with this idea. I did my research. I learned all about it. I learned a little bit about it. The thing about Molly, though, is that if you use it too often, if you start abusing it, it will completely fuck you up, because all that serotonin that gets used in your head, if you drain your shit and then you take it again and your body goes to get that serotonin again, it's not going to be there. Your body needs a long time to recover from this kind of high. A roll is what you call it. You're rolling on MDMA. You need like at least, I say 3 months to recover. And even then, each time, you're not going to get as strong effect as the first one. It kind of, your first experience is always the craziest. And then the more you do it, the more the magic's kind of lost. It's still a really great experience. But anyways, we'll get back to this idea later because it's kind of important for the story. So after my research, I went back to my friend and I was like, yo, I'm fucking down. Let's drop some Molly sometime. Just let me know when you're ready. Fast forward like 3 months. It's November 27th. That was when we did this. We were at my house and we got the rock because it comes in a rock form. It can sometimes come in like pills or presses, but we had a rock. You crush it up. You can parachute it, wrap it in a Kleenex and swallow it, or you can just drink it in water, which is what I did, Molly water. It's probably what I recommend. I don't really want to swallow a fucking Kleenex. That sounds kind of weird. And it was a very interesting experience. I had an initial dose of 0.15 grams, which was the same as my friend took, and he was like 40 pounds less than me. So we were chilling for like an hour, and around an hour in, I just started feeling these very subtle sensations in my body. I started feeling like a warm, tingly sensation in my hands and my feet a little bit. It was very low key. And then suddenly I just started getting this overwhelming urge to just smile. I was sitting there in my treehouse smoking a blunt, and I was just like, I was feeling so happy for some reason. I didn't know why. I was just sitting there just smiling like a goof. And I was like to my friend, yo, I'm starting to feel some stuff. And he was like, yeah, good. Just, let it happen. And eventually I found myself at the peak. It was slow and gradual, and when I was there, it was amazing. Everything I touched was just, it felt amazing. Everything I talked about, all I wanted to do was talk about my feelings and what I had been going through, just my life. And it was the same with him. We spent like probably 3 hours up in my backyard treehouse, this tiny cramped ass space, just listening to music, talking, vibing. It was amazing. And the thing about music is that because Molly heightens all your senses, your sense of touch, your sense of feel, your sense of hearing, your sense of taste, everything is just so amplified and powerful. And when you're listening to music, it's literally, music is a must. We were sitting there, fucking dancing and whatever, and then the music comes off because my friend got a call. And when the music was off, I physically didn't feel well. I started getting like these weird chills. I started getting really anxious. Like it's a very strange drug because it completely changes everything about your body. It gives you an experience that cannot be matched, and the effects that like little things have, like holding hands or listening to music or like, I don't know, rubbing the hem of your shirt, which is something I really like to do sometimes, like right here, just the littlest things give you such fulfillment and pleasure. Everything's perfect. That's really the only way I can describe it. And it completely changes your perspective. Like it helps you come to terms with things in your life. It helps you. That's why it was used for therapy. I had been getting in a lot of beef with my mom that month. I had some issues with some of my friends prior, and the experience of rolling on Molly kind of helped me come to terms with all of it. And afterwards, I felt a lot more at peace with myself and my circumstances. A lot of the inner demons I had been fighting off throughout that time in my life, they were almost dissipated. They were a lot less there than they were before. And I can attribute it to the fact that I had such a life-altering experience my first time on Molly. It was easily the most powerful experience I've ever had, and it was amazing. And when it finished, I was incredibly sad, and people will always warn you about the come down on Molly's, because when you drain all your serotonin, there's like nothing left. So a lot of people on the subreddit, the MDMA subreddit, which is something I visit quite often, will talk about experiences where they've rolled and then they've had like a really, really shitty week the following week because they're low on serotonin. I guess they feel depressed, they feel unfulfilled, they want to take it again to recapture what they felt the first time. But again, you can't just take Molly over and over again because it's gonna fuck you up. It's a really addictive drug because of how it makes you feel, and people always want to be chasing that feeling. But the thing is, if you keep chasing it, you're gonna lose that feeling. You have to kind of take it and set it down, let your body kind of forget the magic, and then rediscover it when you do it again. So obviously the first time I was itching to do it again, but I was telling myself, no, you can't. So I made a plan with my friends, the friend I did the first time with, and another friend. We were like, okay, we're gonna do this again, like 3 months from the first roll, the three of us. As I'm editing this video, I just had a post thought that I thought would be good to share. I never really had a proper come down when I did Molly. Just the first time. I don't think many regular people will have a very extreme come down. They won't really have a shitty week like you sometimes hear about online. You won't be like depressed or anything. You get this feeling like you're going through the motions in your life for a little bit, because all you can think about for like the next 3 weeks is just that experience you had. And for those 3 weeks, you're always kind of in your thoughts thinking about that night. It's called derealization. I googled it. It's kind of just the sensation of you're not controlling your life. You're just kind of going through the motions. Get just always lost in thought about it. But obviously it passes. I didn't have any actual depression. I didn't feel sad at all. I was just like completely lost in thought for so long because of the lasting impression that it had on me. Now, my second role was really, really different. It was a hugely different experience. First of all, it was with two of my friends, and that in itself changed the experience, because every single time you do Molly, it's a different story, different setting, different people, different things going on in your life. Everything is so important, and every experience is a little bit different. It's like its own story, which is kind of poetic. It's one of the things that I enjoyed about this drug. But there were a couple things that I did differently about this role. I took a little bit more because I think that I underdosed the first time I did it. I wasn't getting any lockjaw or eye shakes. Both of these things sound very, very fucking unpleasant when you hear about them. Like, your lockjaw, that sounds awful. It really isn't. It feels really, really good to chew on things when you're rolling. Like, we just stuck dust cloths, like just these rags in our mouths, and we're just chewing on them, because your mouth always wants to be biting down on something when you're rolling. It just feels really good. And if you try to open your mouth, you can kind of feel like your teeth will like chatter and then eventually close back up. It sounds really weird and scary, but it's not. And the same thing with the eye shakes. Your pupils will vibrate and your vision will kind of shake a little bit. And I never really got any of that, and I was kind of hoping to, because that's kind of, in my opinion, representative of getting the full experience. So I was like, okay, I'm going to take a little bit more. So comparison to the 0.15, wait, no. I took 0.2. 0.2 the first time is what I took. I took 0.23, 0.24 this time. My other friends took like 0.15 because they're a lot smaller than me. I'm like 6'4", 190 pounds. I'm a pretty big guy. So we took it, and the first thing we did differently was that my friend told me, yo, we can't be boxed up in the treehouse all night, because I was there and I wanted to dance, I wanted to stand, I wanted to move around, and the treehouse is just too small. So I was like, okay, bet. We'll take our drinks, and then we'll go on a walk, and then we're gonna peek, and then we're gonna come back into my room, turn on all the music, all the fucking lights, and we're gonna have a blast. So we go out, I'm rolling a spliff, because I always like to have a spliff on the come up, kind of gets your nerves down. And as I'm rolling, I get this like overwhelming just rush of fuzziness in my arms. Like, everything feels so light. Feels like I'm like going through the motions, like I'm rolling my joint here, and all of a sudden I'm like, my hands are like feeling really weird, and I was like, oh my god, what's happening? I got really freaked out at first, but then I was like, I can't freak out. If I freak out, I'm just gonna end up in a negative spiral, and I'm just gonna freak myself the fuck out, and it's not gonna be a good roll. So I calmed myself down. I finished the spliff. Then I was feeling all right, and I was smoking it. We were walking around my block, and we turned onto the next street. And I remember this moment like so vividly, because it was such a poignant moment in the night. We turned the corner, and all throughout this walk, I had been feeling those sensations, in my arms and my legs, the warm fuzziness, but it was a lot more present than the first time. It was probably because I did a lot more, and it was feeling really amazing. And I was starting to feel like a sense of connection with my friends that I hadn't had before. Like, I was starting to feel really attracted to them, not in a gay way, but just I wanted to be with them. I wanted to hold their shoulders and stuff. We were walking, and I was like massaging their shoulders and feeling everything. It was amazing. My eyes itchy, fuck. We turn onto the next street, and then suddenly I just get this explosion out of my chest. I feel it in my chest, my heart, my shoulders, my back. Everything is just pulsating with this overwhelming euphoria and pleasure. And all I can do is just sit there and be like, oh my god, this is so much more powerful than the first time. I was like sitting there going like, just sighing, because everything was just so perfect. Like, you're always just going to be sighing and exhaling and complete, I don't want to say pleasure again, because I've said that a lot, but just in contentment. You're sighing in contentment like all the time, because the moment is just perfect. And we walk back to my house, my friends are starting to peak, and we turn on the music, and everything is just amazing. I had a ceiling projector, the music was loud, we were dancing, everything was great. We fucking took off our shirts and pants and crawled into my bed and just relaxed and chewed on our rags, and we were talking and listening to the music. It was amazing, but it took a really momentary, sharp, negative turn about 2 hours in, toward the end of my peak. I was sitting there, and all of a sudden I just had this thought. I started thinking about my first roll that I had with just my one friend. And I was like, oh my god, the last roll I had spent like a solid 2 hours just talking to my friend. And all those conversations that we had just were so bonding and so deep. They were such amazing conversations. And I wanted to have the similar types of conversations with my friends during the second roll. But 2 hours in, I realized that I had been so involved in just sitting there, absorbing the moment, that I hadn't been talking about as much as I would have wanted to. And then suddenly I started getting into this negative feedback loop of being like, oh my god, you've done this roll wrong. you haven't been talking with your friends, you haven't been doing this enough, you know, you've wasted it. I don't know why my mind jumped to that, but it did. Suddenly everything started getting dark. I started feeling my body, like no joke, it felt like it was collapsing in on itself. Everything was getting cold. I was getting chills. I was shaking. In my head, like, oh my god, this role is going bad. And the thing is, when you're on a drug and you feel it start going bad, there's very little you can do to stop it. When you're in that mindset and you can feel yourself going down a dark path and you know in your head that you can't get off the path, it's like one of the scariest things I've ever experienced in my life. And I thought that I was about to have a really, really bad rest of my night when my friend suddenly pulled me out of it. He leaned over in my bed and he leaned onto my chest with his ear on my heart and he was like, "Yo, Kyle, I can hear your heartbeat." And I was like, oh my god, my friends are still here. So I took my arm and I wrapped it around my other friend and everything was fine again. It sobered me up a lot. Like, I felt like the rest of the night I felt a lot more sober than I had before. I felt like that scare kind of just yanked me back to reality a little bit. But I had basically a full length peak, which is something that I was happy about. You know, there's nothing really else you can ask for in terms of that. But it taught me a really, really valuable lesson. And I think this is the most valuable lesson that I've learned. Never, ever, ever compare where you are now to where you were during a different time. Take every moment that you're in with as much grace and gratefulness as you can, because living in the moment is the best thing you can do. You never want to be living your life thinking about all the times that you had or all the times you're going to have. Focus on what you're having now, because the present, there's no time like the present. And when that experience ends, you're gonna wish that you spent more time being in the moment than thinking about other times. Because now, after that second role, I have nothing but regret for thinking back to my first role, because now that the experience is over, I realized even though we weren't talking the whole time and it was a different experience than my first role, it was still a fucking amazing time. Just being with someone under the effects of MDMA is a life-changing experience. It's bonding, you're just there taking in everything, and you shouldn't be trying to fashion your own experiences. You shouldn't be trying to force things to happen. The most fulfilling experiences will happen by themselves. And that can be applied to all of life. Wherever you are now, don't compare it. Don't be trying to seek something more. Just be thankful for what you have. Be thankful that you're in an experience that's making you happy now. And don't try to think of a time that you were happier, because it's not going to make you happier. It's going to make you sadder. And on top of that, just the things that I gained from both the roles in general. Like, I feel like I've completely changed as a person. I do more to help people. I treat my friends more, you know, giving them free weed, free favors. Like, I have such a giving spirit now. I don't want to sound like I'm tooting my own horn here or like being full of myself, but I feel more connected with people and I want to do more good in the world. And that's something that only came to me really after I had the experience, because it's literally nicknamed the love drug. It makes you love yourself, love your friends, love your family, love the world, love everything. And it just makes you appreciate everything more. And it's truly something that I think everyone would do well with experiencing at least once, because it really is life-changing. If you are going to do this drug, though, I'm going to recommend some things you do. First of all, have a playlist ready of some songs you want to play. You're gonna want really, really hyped up songs that will get you going. Like party music, like early 2000s, or not early 2000s, like 2010 music, like Flo Rida, Pitbull. What else do I have here? Let me look at, I actually have a playlist with some songs that I have. The Wanted, Teo Cruz, Chainsmokers, Calvin Harris, One Republic, Avicii. The best song I think I played during that night was Without You by Avicii. That was the first song we played. Fucking amazing song on Molly. You guys should give it a listen, and you'll know the type of music that I'm indicating to here right now. That's really all I have to say. You know, it's a amazing experience. It's an amazing drug, and again, I don't want you guys to think that I'm like some kind of crackhead, because I probably sound like some kind of fucked up downtown bucket being like, oh, it's the best thing ever, you know, you're gonna take it and you're gonna want more, it's such a great drug. But like, I want you to think of it as more of a pure experience, a therapeutic experience. It's not just blind pleasure. It's like a healing experience, very philosophical feeling, and it's very spiritual. And that's the best way I can describe it. It's a spiritually healing experience that will teach you a lot about yourself and a lot about the world. What else can you do? Make sure you drink a lot, because Molly has a tendency to make you forget about your bodily functions. Like, you don't drink, you don't shit, you don't piss. Make sure you remember to drink and stay healthy. Maybe try to eat something at some point, just to make sure you're not like hungry or anything like that. Do not do anything that could possibly convince yourself that something is wrong, because everything is right. When you're on Molly, everything is right. And never forget it, because it's going to be an experience that you're not going to want to forget and you're not going to want to ruin. So when you're in that moment, just everything is perfect, and keep that thought in your head. Everything is fine. Because if you convince yourself it's not, it's going to be a bad time. Also, when you're on the come up, it's really helpful to go on a walk. Just walk around the block with whoever you're with for like 45 minutes, and time will fly. You'll distract yourself. Don't look at the time. Don't look at the time at all. And then when you start feeling things, just be like, oh, there it is. Let's go home now. Just don't try to stress yourself out about it at all. And that's really all I have left. Just stay safe and do drugs safely. Thank you for watching to the end of the video, guys. If you're here, consider subscribing, share the video with your friends. The channel's been lacking hella lately. The sub growth for the last month has been minus 25. I can't get out of this rut that I'm in right now, and you guys need to help me out of it. So share this video, share my videos, tell your friends, and, you know, have a good fucking week, guys. Thanks for watching. Take care.